Hey, today we're in Beijing, where imperial palaces, giant civic spaces, and a wall on mountain ridges all somehow belong to one city. And in winter, doing Beijing well matters, because the wrong timing leaves you in queues, wind, and darkness instead of the good parts. I already mapped the whole trip into a template, so if you want it, the link's in the description. This version of Beijing really rewards daytime judgment. Crisp light, early sunset, big outdoor sights first, then warmer streets and indoor resets. First up, Beijing goes from immense political stage to imperial maze to the hill that finally makes the whole thing readable. Tiananmen Square is a giant political square at the heart of the capital, and it explains central Beijing faster than any intro paragraph. What hits you is the scale, because the whole place is built to feel exposed, orderly, and a little intimidating. In winter, that bareness actually works. Stone, flagpoles, long sightlines, and wind, with absolutely nowhere to negotiate. Morning is best here. Later it turns into more crowd management, and keeping your passport handy saves pointless fumbling at security. Then the Forbidden City turns that huge empty square into context, because this was the former imperial palace complex behind all that authority. Do not think one building, think a whole walled political world of gates, courtyards, red walls, and yellow roofs, stretching on and on. The place is brilliant at making hierarchy feel physical, and mildly excellent at making your cabs file a complaint. Book your timed entry ahead and aim for the warmer middle of the day, when the winter light is kinder on those long stone walks. Jingshan Park is the short hill just north of the palace, and it's where everything you just walked finally makes visual sense. From the top, the Forbidden City stops feeling like disconnected courtyards and starts reading as one enormous geometric plan. Late afternoon works best because the lower light warms up the roofscape, and winter visibility can be surprisingly crisp. It's a very fair Beijing bargain, brief uphill effort, huge payoff, then everyone casually pretending the climb was nothing. Day 2 is Beijing in a different register, ritual architecture in the morning, then old commercial streets once the city loosens its collar. The Temple of Heaven is where emperors performed major rites, but for a first-timer it also feels like a grand public park with serious symbolism. That mix is the reason to come, because blue and gold ceremonial buildings sit inside grounds still filled with ordinary local life. You get cypress trees, open paths, crisp air, and a place that feels calmer than the imperial core without feeling minor. Morning gives you the best version of it, and this is the one stop here worth checking current entry rules for before you go. Qianmen Street is an old commercial corridor south of the imperial center, and it's a very easy first taste of historic Beijing street life. Come for the tram tracks, bright storefronts, food smells, and that steady crowd flow that makes the area feel lived in rather than staged. It works especially well later in the day because the lights come on and the whole street leans into its evening mood. I like it less as a monument and more as a useful, snack-heavy corridor where a quick wander quietly stops being quick. Dashilan Street is the narrower, messier companion to Qianmen, and it's better once you understand it as a knot of old retail lanes. This part gets more interesting because the scale shrinks, tighter pavements, layered signs, warmer interiors, more texture, less parade route. Not every lane is cinematic, which is honestly part of the appeal. It still behaves like a city instead of a set piece. Early evening suits it best when the lights help and you can drift between side streets, snacks, and tea without overthinking the map. Day 3 leaves the city center for the headline Beijing cannot really skip, then follows it with something quieter and stranger. Mutianyu Great Wall is the Great Wall stop for this trip, and the first useful thing to know is that it still feels physically improbable in person. It matters because the wall is not just famous, it actually crawls over the ridges in a way that makes the scale feel stubborn and absurd. Winter can make the views clearer and the crowds thinner, but the ridge wind is not a poetic concept. Go in the morning, and if you want more time on the wall itself, using the cable car is a very respectable decision. The Ming Dynasty Tombs add a different imperial mood after the wall, less spectacle, more burial landscape, and dynastic permanence. They work well here because the day stops being only one famous photo and starts saying something broader about how power was imagined. Expect wide grounds, stone paths, subdued architecture, and a quieter atmosphere than Beijing's major headline sites. This one lands best if you still have some attention left. After the wall, everyone gets noticeably more thoughtful and slightly more tired. The last day starts with imperial leisure on an absurd scale, then shifts into incense, factory art, and a more modern Beijing. The Summer Palace is an imperial garden complex built around lake, hill, and architecture, basically leisure presented as state capacity. It works because the play shows how emperors relaxed by building something still monumental enough to count as an outdoor campaign. In winter, the pale light, bare trees, and cold water make it feel especially spacious and slightly severe in a good way. Come in the morning and reserve a head when needed, because this place is big enough to punish a late start. Lama Temple changes the mood immediately. This is a Tibetan Buddhist temple complex, not an imperial showpiece, and you feel that difference fast. The memorable thing here is sensory, because incense, painted beams, wood, and murmured movement do as much as the architecture. After the broad outdoor scale of the Summer Palace, these sheltered courtyards feel more intimate and more human. Mid-afternoon makes sense here, and checking current entry rules beforehand is smarter than relying on old travel lore. Beijing 798 Art Zone is the city's industrial to contemporary pivot, a district of old factory shells now filled with galleries, murals, and cafes. It earns its place because Beijing should not end as emperors and ceremony only. This stop shows the city doing reinvention too. You get brick, concrete, winter courtyards, coffee, and that nice rhythm of stepping from cold outdoor space into heated rooms. Late afternoon is ideal if gallery hours cooperate and the area works best as exploratory wandering rather than hunting one perfect masterpiece. What sticks with Beijing is how often it shifts scale on you, from intimate incense and alleyways to spaces built to dwarf ordinary life. If you want the pre-built route template with the map view ready to edit, it's in the description and pinned comment. Let me know which Beijing stop you would protect no matter what and drop it in the comments.